Radio Bypass, bringing you rock and roll music that deserves to be heard. Discover new bands. Here's some old favorites on Radio Bypass.
Hey guys, today on Radio Bypass we're joined by Amy Faith and Mike Ariza, collectively known as the Fa, who have just released their debut single, Devour. So we're here to talk to the guys and get to know them. So welcome Amy and Mike to Radio Bypass.
Thank you so much for having us, Ralph.
Thank you for having us, yes.
My pleasure. So I've devoured Devour several times now, and I really like the song a lot. You guys, in your promo material, refer to you kind of be an alternative, but to me it's just good, straight, hard rock and roll, you know, and I think it's done beautifully. So, but I know both of you guys have done a lot musically prior to the Fa, but the Fa is new and very creative with the name there, I think. But anyway, I thought maybe if you give us a little bit of background of each of you and how you came together to create the Fa.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I met Amy through a mutual friend. She was singing at a gig and it was at this Italian restaurant, and I was like, sure. I mean, we'll hear some jazz and have some pizza and some espresso. What else?
Go wrong with that, yeah.
So immediately, being an artist for as long as I have, you can really tell when someone has it right away, and she definitely had it, and I was really blown away, and there was so many thoughts that went in my mind. I was like, became a fan right away. Like, yes, like I asked her if we could take a picture together, and I put that photo on my social media. I was like, you guys need to hear this voice. And, we became friends, and, so that's how we met. And it just turns out that we had so much in common, and that's what ultimately became what we're doing today.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Scenes from an Italian restaurant. So obviously, Amy, that's how you met Mike. Then we know a little bit about that. But before we get to you, Amy, let's just finish with you, Mike, a little bit. Just a little bit of your background. So folks that listen to this show for a long time have probably heard you playing because you were involved in a Frank Hannon record, Six String Soldiers. And then I didn't know a lot about you. And then there was also a Jeff Sandoval was part of that album as well. Had you two been a band together? You and Jeff?
Yeah, not really a band, but we had been, we worked together, writing songs together and putting out projects prior to that. Yeah, I mean, long history there for sure.
Gotcha. Okay. So that's a little bit on you. And then Amy, obviously you were singing jazz.
Yeah, I have quite a diverse range of genres that I've sung over the years, jazz being one of them, musical theater, even some classical opera, along with pop, R&B, soul, and rock. So I dove headfirst into a bunch of things throughout, the span of my career so far, and it's all definitely influenced where I am today and what I've crafted with my sound and what it is that we do here with the Fa. So.
Gotcha. And you guys are describing the Fa as kind of an alternative rock, but with a modern sound, which I agree with the modern sound for sure. It's not that alternative to me. To me, it is a good hard rock song that you've created. But is that kind of what you guys are looking to kind of be going forward? Kind of, you want to be kind of that alternative Smashing Pumpkins type sound, or what do you guys envision your band going forward?
To me, honestly, it's like when, the way I grew up, like when you heard then this could be debated. Fats Domino probably recorded the first rock and roll hit, of course there was recordings before that, but you just think of like the blessing of rock and roll. It will always have that same, all of us participate in this thing that goes around and around and around. And of course, there's like subgenres and this and that. You got blues rock, southern rock, alternative, Pacific Northwest rock, punk, metal, death metal, grindcore, and all these other things. And at the core of it, all of us are still, we're all grandchildren of where it came from. So,
Sure.
whatever you call it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one thing we've prided ourselves in our songwriting is that we haven't put ourselves, obviously, we've labeled alternative rock there, but we've written kind of a wide shoot off of a lot of different things that have kind of melded into what we're thinking is the rock, alternative rock, and it'll probably evolve from there too. It's just, we want to write good songs that people can groove to and enjoy and ever evolve in that process.
Sure, sure. Now, that makes sense to me, and I agree. It is a melting pot. I don't know about Fats Domino being the first or not. I always go crazy in my own head trying to decide what really was the first true rock
Right.
song.
Yeah.
Some say that Sister Rosetta Sharp or whatever was the first.
Right.
Uh, so yeah, it's hard to say. Well, let's talk about Devour. So you guys have recently released that. Was that one of the first songs you guys put together together?
Oh no, we've got a full catalog of music actually. We're about 3 years in, got about
20 some on.
25, 27 tunes out there. So yeah, this is just our latest and one we're absolutely proud of, but
Yeah.
we've got a full catalog of stuff that we're really proud of too.
Yeah, this,
Okay, so I've missed the bus here. Then you guys have put out others. So I thought this was a debut.
No.
well, when you're in the era of like releasing singles, it's always a debut, and that's what we like about singles. You know, full length records are cool. We've all done that in our careers, but having singles, you get this big boom, and you're not worried about get
Everything else.
everything else matching. Oh, is this cut going to make the record? Maybe that for a different record. You can put at least for now, from our perspective, you can put a lot of unfiltered energy into a single and it can then live on its own.
Yeah,
So
just to stand alone and
yeah,
just become one other piece of what it is that you do, and then you can, present something different, next time. So we enjoy the single methodology. I mean, does not to say that we won't do, a full length record release, but right now we've been doing singles, so this is our latest.
Gotcha. Well, I've got to dig into you then because I've got to find some of your previous work. I truly thought this was your first outing.
well,
So
I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's what we like about singles is it's always so brand new. You can do them at a faster pace, a faster schedule, other than an album release cycle. If those even exist anymore, you can just
right.
pump them out, and then you could get to the point where you have enough out there where you could take a few weeks off. Artists never really take time off, but have a little bit of reprieve and gather yourself, if you would.
Sure, sure. So if you guys have been at this for 3 years, then do you have you played a lot of live shows as well?
We've got a number of shows that we've completed over the last couple of years and plan for many more, in the coming near future. And we've done everything from an acoustic duo with the two of us performing our catalog to an acoustic four-piece to a full electric. We did a show this past September with Ron here in Albuquerque, so that was
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
to get to collaborate with him. But that was a full electric show, and so we've done kind of different configurations, and we enjoy the flexibility of being able to do, a variety of different types of shows depending on what the opportunity calls for.
Gotcha. So do you have a set band then when you're not doing just the two of you, or do you have a rotating cast of musicians?
We have a rotating cast of musicians, people that are in alignment of put off good positive energy and have a positive outlook, not only about life, but about being what an artist is. And they put in the hard work to fulfill that commitment to a show. What a show is really it's for the people that take the time out of their life and their hard-earned money to show up, regardless of how many people it is. Like that's the MO you got to have, and we're fortunate to have a Rolodex of people on our camp that we can rely on. Everybody's got different schedules. It's interesting. I was like, are there really bands anymore? There are. But if you notice, you'll see like this artist, especially in the legacy, going from this project to this project, this project. So, I mean,
Yes.
Yeah.
As lifelong music lover, I understand it. I know why people do what they do, but it's so hard sometimes for me because, it's like, okay, first of all, just wording. Is it a project? Is it a band? Right? Because
Yeah.
these guys are in several things. So I don't want to be insulting of anybody. Like,
Yeah.
'cause
Yeah.
sometimes some people might say, "Oh, it's a project." You're dismissing it as opposed to calling it a band. And I
Right.
mean, no disrespect, but I never am quite sure anymore
Yeah.
where things fit. It's just so hard, and it's dizzying as a fan
Right.
to even keep up with what everybody's doing. And that's one of the reasons that I want to do this podcast, or have been doing this podcast, is to try to bring it together so people can kind of know what's going on, because I find it just much harder. It was a lot easier when I was young, and bands just kind of stayed with one thing at a time for a long time and put out their records, and you could count on your local radio station to play something brand new that you never heard before. And now in the world we're in today, it's just so fragmented. It's just so hard. And I don't know how many people are like me, but I seek out new stuff. I like hearing new stuff. I like my old stuff. I'll always take Aerosmith, but
Right.
I like hearing new music all the time and new ways. I realize there's only so many chords and notes and everything, and not everything can be totally brand new, but it is still new to me because the personalities that create the music make it different, even if it is the same, if that makes sense. I know that sounds kind of goofy, but that's how I think about it. So anyway, you're right. Is there a band anymore? No, I don't think so. There's just, musicians that come together and create music.
Yeah, I mean, if you even look at like the new bands like Sleep Token, those guys wear masks. You don't know, and I love that band. Like, who are the members? So I thought that was a pretty
Right.
cool take on things. There's another new band called President. They all wear masks, so it's like, which is cool. For us, it's Amy and I. We're the we are the band, and then when it comes time to perform live, we'll find whoever's available and wants to work to fill in, and they're going to be an expert at their instrument, but they're going to play it with the Foss style,
Yeah.
that's the way it goes.
Right, right. I get it. I get it. So, when you play live, then, like, even if you're doing the acoustic thing, are you doing a wide range of genres, or is it all like the Fa that I now know from this one song is certainly a hard rocking song, but obviously now I've got to dig into your guys' catalog. But what do you guys do live? Is it kind of a mishmash of, is there some jazz along with some hard rock, and what's your...
Yeah, it's actually all the Fa, all original. That's all we do is our catalog of stuff. So obviously it's the acoustic kind of pulled back version, so it slightly deviates from the studio with the full band production. But it's all our original catalog in just a stripped back version of
Yeah.
each song that
And
we've written.
sometimes it's a little bit of a rearrangement, not a whole lot. For us, we love the challenge of getting something that's produced in the studio. And, in the studio, you can go wild, especially these days, and put so many underlying layers and make it sound so big. Well, you know, for us, all of our songs start on an acoustic guitar anyway. So that's how we build it. And so you can, even with Devour, we wrote that song on acoustic guitar, and it could just take this long thing and just balloon into this like big sound. But at the core, it's her vocals, the melody, with the guitar just providing something for her to sing on top of. And so that's our approach to acoustic. And we'll make special arrangements. We'll maybe truncate it or add an extra verse. We had one song where we added an extra verse, and when we hired the guys for the electric show, realized, oh my God, I'm making a mistake. There's no other verse in there, right? We add another verse.
Don't know our own song.
Yeah.
Fun of it, it's like you get to be creative and curate the show according to what it calls for. And so, yeah, that's the long answer to your question
Yeah.
on the acoustic. It's just like a stripped back acoustic duo, and it allows for even more of the vocal and guitar nuances to shine because there's more space,
Hmm.
and that's always fun to play around with too. So.
Right. Yeah, and I've heard many times many musicians have said to me, as far as what you're talking about starting on acoustic guitar, that a good song has to be able to be played stripped down. Otherwise, if you need all the stuff that sounds cool that you added, but if that's what you need to make the song sound good, then you haven't really written that great of a song. Where if it stands up with just stripped down and it still sounds like a great song, then you've written a good song. So.
And the rawness, we really we lean on being raw and staying raw, in our live shows, and it's important for, I think, just in the world, like everyone wants to connect to the human element of music and even performance, and perhaps even the imperfections that come through in that moment. I just think we need more of that in the world
Yeah.
today, especially with all the AI stuff. It's like it's nice to just be human and be raw and be vulnerable and all those things. So we really.
Totally agree. Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I mean, sometimes I'll see things on the internet or something where musicians getting criticized for a bad vocal performance or something, and that always irritates me because I even if it doesn't sound the greatest, it's real, and that's what I love. And I do think imperfections in music can be perfection because they're that moment, they're that fleeting moment. Even in the recording studio when I used to work with musicians years ago, somebody'd want to do another take on something and be like, no, don't do that because this may not be 100%, but the attitude and the feel, you're not going to get that same feel if you do it another time. Leave it alone, because that's what makes music, I don't know, touch your soul more, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah. Agreed.
totally.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I agree. So let's talk a little bit, since we have such a powerhouse singer with such a wide background, Amy. Let's talk a little bit about who are some of your, what would your top 3 vocal inspirations be? Would you say?
Well, I happen to be wearing one of them on my shirt. I will always, I mean, it's by Whitney Houston. I have to say, like, the big balladeers were like the thing that I first fell in love with as a singer because it was the dynamic range and the ability to just soar with those big notes, and then even the low, sultry registers. Um, that's how I fell in love and knew that I was going to vocally accomplish. Actually, this song was like it was a huge point of goal for me. Like I knew that I was going to conquer this song and do it, of course, with my own spin on it. But this was a
Right.
huge driving force for me vocally. So, of course, Whitney Houston, Karen Carpenter. I love Karen Carpenter. Her low, rich, sultry tones. I mean, I don't know anyone who can touch what she's done, but has definitely had an influence vocally in the lower register of things. If we're talking about jazz, Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan, those classic voices that just, I think the raw vulnerability of those voices, and again, the imperfection, because if you listen to those old recordings, they were not perfect.
For
You know,
sure.
they were just real, and they were like, it's like she was right there in front of you singing into your ear. So I've really considered that over the years as I've, you know, eaten up a lot of different influences. Ann Wilson, of course, in the rock world. I mean, just,
Right.
and her voice is still incredible after all these years.
It is. Yeah. Well, those are all good choices. And I guess by extension, you have to thank Dolly Parton, too, then, since she wrote that song.
Dolly, so thank you, Dolly. Well, they're shining light and bright, and I think that's amazing. These long careers, like that doesn't happen for nothing. Even just
Right.
brand and their essence, like to have that longevity is pretty incredible. So.
For sure. For sure. And what about for you, Mike? What would be like top 3 guitar influences?
Man, that's really hard for me to answer. I guess I could I could look at like, when I was young and I first started listening to records, um, AC/DC and Kiss, so Angus Young, Paul Stanley and Ace Frehley, even though, and, you know, those are Ted Nugent when I was young. My brother's about 9, 10 years older than me, so those records were there. Gosh, man, that's such a hard thing to answer because
Yes,
there,
it is.
so I was born in 1974, so and then having a brother that was, born in the 60s, and then having uncles that were born in the late 50s. So I was surrounded by Hendrix, BB King, and honestly, my dad being from the city, and being born in 1933 and being from Houston, Texas, and he would take all the, back then they would, jump on trains and go to Chicago, go down to the original juke joints and stuff like that, all those stories. And hearing honestly the saxophone, and rock and roll, a lot of the, that was like, that's what inspired the next phase of electric guitar. So, gosh, man, um, I think if there was, God, that's so hard to answer. Of course, Eddie Van Halen, George Lynch, uh, list goes on and on and on because there's so many great guitar players. Man, just the 80s was just saturated with them,
Yeah, yeah.
And
No, I,
yeah,
I agree with you. It's hard when I years ago, many years ago, I made my top 10 guitarists of all time list for myself, and I struggled with that for a long time. And then I've had to modify it a couple of times because guys came along later that's like, man, this guy is so good that I got to probably push somebody out, you know?
I see your Aerosmith hoodie. My dad took me to see Aerosmith. I was about 10 or 11. And, and again, my dad was born in 1933. And after that concert, my dad had the Aerosmith's greatest hits. And he would listen to that while he was on, back then, you had the portable, Walkman, and then they had the
Sure.
little single speaker tape deck you put batteries in. And I remember, him back then, he was a mailman, everybody would say, God, your dad was jamming Aerosmith at the post office, back in the saddle. And so, the swagger of those guys and man, it just goes on and on and on and on. The
Yeah.
guy currently, the guy that plays for Lenny Kravitz, I can't remember his name. I'm sorry. It's Craig Ross, I think it is. That guy's a really great underrated guitar player. I really appreciate all the new guys. Aaron Marshall from Intervals. Gosh, there's the guy from Spirit Box, and I'm sorry if I can't remember their name right now. Misha Manser from Periphery. A lot of those guys are taking the next, they're taking the instrument even further than I ever thought it could go. It's amazing what these younger guys are doing.
And you just named a bunch of bands that I'm not familiar with, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
I love learning about new bands. Well, that's cool. Yeah, no, it's hard. I mean, for me, it's pretty easy to have my number one, though, that because to me, he's better than and different than everybody, and that's Jeff Beck. So, for my
Yeah.
number one, that it's easy. But 2 through 10, it's hard because there's a lot that fit in there.
Well, when you talk about like those imperfections and the spirit of like improvising, I mean, to me, I think Richie Blackmore is, just watch. I would encourage anybody to watch any of those old Deep Purple live videos, and I mean, there's no question that Richie Blackmore uh, inspired a lot of like the neoclassical esque type guitar players for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, I just had to ask you guys that. And then if somebody like me is just discovering it for the first time, what would you want somebody, what's most important you would want somebody to have a takeaway about your band? What would you want somebody to know about the Fa?
Well, first of all, follow us on YouTube. That's the best place to connect with us. So it's the fa_music. You can subscribe. We love visiting and commenting back on, your comments on the videos there. So that's great. But just keep your eyes out because we've got so much coming and so much coming this next year. And we'll see you out there on the road. We'll see you out
Yeah.
there at live shows, and just come along for the ride because we've got some great things in store.
Yeah, I mean, we're still in our minds and our hearts, we still have this very innocent, you know, 10-year-old like new discovery of the art and craft of music, and we're just just as excited. I know that it's around the holidays, but we when you think of a kid running down to a holiday tree, Christmas tree, whatever you want to call it, to like look what's new. That's how we feel every time we have a new idea. It's so exciting. It's so fun, and we love it. And we're extremely grateful that we get to do this. We get to do it together. And the core of it, I mean, we're writing songs that make us happy, and we hope that the authenticity of that touches someone else and makes them happy
Yeah.
too.
I love that. That everything you just said is awesome, and I think that does shine through, at least on Devour. Now I'll have to, like I said, go back and learn some more of your stuff. But Devour, I definitely feel that. Yes.
Cool.
All right, and then before we lead into Devour, is there anything about the song itself? What would you want somebody to take away from hearing the song for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, I think as with any song, an individual can pick out things that resonate and create their own meaning. But I think in the inception of the song, to be devoured is it's a powerful thing to say, think, or be or do, and it's easy to become devoured in the world and in life by whatever. And it could be a good thing or not, right?
Right.
So, what does that mean? What does that bring out to you? We're in an interesting time in the world, so I think it's always a good thing to keep in mind. What does that mean to be devoured by something, and how does that feel for you?
This was produced by a really good friend and an amazing producer by the name of Chris Collier. And he had a lot of input. Of course, he produced it in the real, definition of what a producer is. And so we wanted have a heavier sound, and of course, he's known for that. But also, he was like our no, I'm at a loss of words. He's so amazing on how he participated in this song.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he really brought it to life in a new way, and made it big and bold as we had hoped and envisioned it to be. So we love the collaboration with him. In fact, we're going back to work with him again in February on a new tune. So hopefully we'll come back and chat with you about that.
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's wonderful. We love his work, and you'll if you haven't already heard it, seen it, you'll find that
yeah.
when you take a listen.
Heavy riff, meat and potatoes, if you would. Uh, Extremely amazing vocals and harmony. And that's
Yeah.
when we heard it, we're like that's it. So that's our honest feeling about it. And as artists, you should be proud of your work, and we're very proud.
Good. Well, I'm happy for you both, and I'm glad to have the chance to chat with both of you guys. So thank you for taking some time out of your day for us here at Radio Bypass. And then for you guys that watch this on our YouTube channel or on our website, Amy and Mike are going to be nice and send us their video for Devour. So we're going to include that here in just a minute. And for you guys that just listen, you'll still hear the song. And you'll want to turn this up just a little bit louder because it's a great song to crank. I love this song so much, you guys. So we've been talking with Amy Faith and Mike Ariza. Did I pronounce that right, by the way? I meant to ask you beforehand, Ariza, from the FA. And as you heard here, we all have some homework to do, learning more of their music. But for right now, you can crank up this killer song they've got out. So guys, thanks so much for being
Thanks
here.
for having us.
All right, everybody, turn it up a little bit louder. And if you're watching, enjoy this video from the FA. Here comes Devour.
I'll drive inside your dreams and trick you with my swing. away.